explosive claim blanketing Britain's front pages today.
A very young girl had allegedly been abused by the Queen's second son.
Your embarrassment, sir.
The reaction was absolute horror.
In the quiet halls of Buckingham Palace, a scandal lurks in the shadows. Prince Andrew, a member of the royal family, is at the center of it all. The palace has chosen to stay silent, leaving the public curious and hungry for answers.
Jeffrey Epstein documents have been unsealed. The records has confirmed what was suspected for years now, that trafficking convict.
Finally, in January 2002, a statement was released.
I don't know why I've collected that title, because I never have really parted, and I've never really felt the need to go and party.
Prince Andrew's military ties and royal roles were returned to the Queen, and he would continue to avoid public duties. But why? The universe has long waited for the answer to such a question. Well, you're about to discover the thrilling truth about the entire scandal and what fate holds for the royal rebel: resignation. Prince Andrew, the current Duke of York, found himself at the precipice of a decision that would send shockwaves through the monarchy. It was a moment of reckoning, a crossroads where his future and the future of the House of York converged. "You're an embarrassment, sir," echoed the words that had been haunting him relentlessly. The voices of critics and skeptics grew louder with every passing day. The world watched as the prince's connection with the late financier Jeffrey Epstein, that ill-fated friendship, cast a dark shadow over his once esteemed position within the royal family. Prince Andrew had never been far away from controversy, but this was different. This scandal, intertwined with the name Epstein, had inflicted the greatest damage on his reputation, tarnishing his image as a member of the royal family.
Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew's name have been linked now for years. This is a scandal that doesn't seem to go away for the Duke of York.
The repercussions were immeasurable, and the question lingered. What impact would this latest scandal have on the House of York? Within the grand tapestry of the Royal House of Windsor, each title carried its weight, its own significance. Wales, Cambridge, Sussex, and York. The Duke of York, a noble and prestigious title traditionally bestowed upon the sovereign's second son. And now, the 11th Duke of York found himself thrust into a media frenzy, the eye of a storm that threatened to engulf him. History whispered tales of controversy surrounding previous Dukes of York. It seemed as though the second sons of monarchs were destined to be enigmatic figures, always lurking in the shadows, just a heartbeat away from the top role, the crown itself. King George VI, the beloved father of the Queen, had held the title before, leaving an indelible mark on the monarchy. The weight of that legacy was palpable, something Queen Elizabeth held dear. Being the spare heir was no easy task. There was no job description and no roadmap to navigate the complexities that came with the position. The perks and privileges of royalty were bestowed upon the Dukes of York, while the burden of responsibility eluded them. They were ripe for drama, destined to encounter pitfalls as they sought to carve out a meaningful role for themselves, knowing that the crown was not within their sights. The title, passed down through the ages, carried with it the ghosts of those who came before. The challenge was to avoid living up to a previous Duke of York and to forge a unique path. But inevitably, life had a way of delivering unexpected blows, smacking one in the face when least expected. And so, as Prince Andrew contemplated his resignation, the world held its breath, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. The House of York stood on the precipice, its future uncertain, its fate entwined with the choices made by a single man. Suspense filled the air as the narrative unfolded, each twist and turn to capture the imagination of those who watched with bated breath, wondering what lay ahead for the Duke of York and the storied monarchy he was a part of. Tale from history. Prince Andrew's journey began long before he officially assumed the title of Duke of York.
The Duke of York, it's a very noble title. It's traditionally given to the sovereign's second son.
Born in 1960, he made headlines from the moment he entered the world. for he was the first child born to a reigning monarch in 103 years. The spotlight was firmly fixed upon him, and it seemed as though destiny had marked him for a life of grandeur and intrigue. Prince Andrew's childhood was a happy one, filled with laughter and love. He arrived 12 years after his older brother, the Prince of Wales, and a little while after Princess Anne. Rumors swirled that he was the Queen's favorite, and some would argue that he was spoiled more than his brother Charles. Family friends whispered tales of his golden-haired angelic presence, basking in the warmth of his mother's affection. But such perceived favoritism came with consequences. Andrew developed certain characteristics that set him apart. From a young age, he exuded confidence, perhaps even bordering on cockiness. Some labeled him as boorish, and he carried a reputation for self-entitlement. Aware of his status and importance, he was seen as the handsome one, the Queen's favorite, living a life of privilege without the burden of responsibility. In 1979, Prince Andrew found his calling when he joined the Royal Navy as a helicopter pilot. He aspired to make it his lifelong career, dedicating himself to the service with unparalleled diligence. However, his journey was not without a few bumps along the way. There was an incident where he remarked to a senior naval officer that the officer could call him H for HRH, His Royal Highness. In response, the officer curtly reminded him to address him as Sir. It was a glimpse into the young Andrew's demeanor and approach to authority. 3 years later, in 1982, Prince Andrew was thrust into the heart of the Falklands War. Despite Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's reservations about a young and prominent royal being exposed to the dangers of battle, Andrew was determined to be in the thick of the action. He flew Royal Navy helicopters, serving as decoys and risking his life in the line of fire. It was a brave and pivotal moment, forever etched in his personal history. The media frenzy surrounding Andrew's involvement in the Falklands War was unprecedented.
Of being there, lying on the deck, with your hands over there just to protect your face.
The Queen's second son, a member of the ruling monarchy, fighting on the front line, captured the nation's attention. The images of the war hero Prince, returning from the Falklands, adorned with a rose between his teeth, became iconic. He was hailed as a national hero, a symbol of pride for the country, and a testament to the unity and bravery of the British forces. But as the echoes of war subsided, the prince's personal life took center stage. His romantic escapades and love life became headline news, captivating the public's imagination. The golden boy of the British monarchy had captured the hearts of the nation, and his every move was scrutinized and analyzed with fervor. It was just another chapter in the dramatic narrative of Prince Andrew's life, filled with triumphs, controversies, and the ever-present allure of royalty. As the story unfolded, suspense hung in the air, leaving the world anticipating the next twist in the tale of the Duke of York. Loved by women. In the lavish world of royalty, Prince Andrew stood out with his striking looks and undeniable charm. He was no stranger to the company of beautiful women, and they were equally enamored by him. One such captivating romance was with the stunning brunette actress, Cusack Stark. Their relationship ignited a whirlwind of excitement and titillation, fueling the image of Andrew as the charismatic playboy prince.
Who Andrew was dating, and I think fueled that image of him being a bit of a playboy prince.
Andrew and Cusack seemed to be a match made in heaven. She exuded sensuality and shared many of Andrew's interests. She possessed a spark that captivated him, and together they embarked on a secret getaway to the sun-kissed Caribbean island of Mastique, disguising themselves as Mr. and Mrs. Cambridge. Their closeness was so profound that Andrew even introduced her to his own mother, sparking a frenzy of speculation that an engagement was imminent. But alas, their royal romance took an unexpected turn. Cusack had a past, one that revealed her involvement in risque movies that did not align with the pristine image expected of the royal family.
She had a past.
It turned out that, not only was she an actress, but she'd actually appeared in some pretty risque movies.
The changing attitudes towards the royals, especially during the Diana years, made it clear that such associations could jeopardize their connection with the public. Advisors urged Andrew to distance himself from Cusack, a decision that undoubtedly left a lingering sense of regret for both. And so, Andrew moved on to a series of high-profile relationships, driven by his undeniable allure and penchant for beautiful women. The press couldn't get enough of him, and they dubbed him Randy Andy. The Playboy Prince persona injected a dose of Hollywood glamour into the royal family, adding an exciting edge that was previously lacking. Andrew's reputation as a charismatic, irresistible figure was well-deserved, even if it occasionally drew criticism. Despite the headlines and the whispers, Prince Andrew remained a popular member of the royal family. Raised to believe in his own significance, he carried himself with an air of importance. For a brief period, hopes were high that he, as the spare to the heir, would carve out his own successful path. But fate had other plans. Enter the scandal that rocked the royal family to its core. Prince Andrew's friendship with the notorious Jeffrey Epstein became one of the most damaging events in recent royal history. The repercussions were profound, thrusting the royal family into a storm of controversy that would overshadow decades of tradition and prestige. Titles and privileges accompanied Andrew's marriage to Sarah Ferguson in 1986. Bestowed with the prestigious title of Duke of York by his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, he enjoyed a life of luxury, residing in the grand Sunning Hill Park, a magnificent 12-bedroom mansion. The Duke of York, a role laden with perks and privileges, was his to embrace. But behind the opulence and splendor, scandal loomed. Prince Andrew's chapter as the Duke of York would not be immune to the tumultuous forces that lay ahead. The scandal. In 2008, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of procuring a person under the age of 18 for prostitution, serving a mere 13 months in prison. This revelation cast a glaring spotlight on Prince Andrew's previous encounters with Epstein, igniting a relentless media frenzy. Reports indicate that Prince Andrew first met Jeffrey Epstein in 1999, during Epstein's time as an investment banker and financier. It is believed that they were introduced through Ghislaine Maxwell, a socialite who was a mutual friend of both Epstein and Prince Andrew. Maxwell, who was also Epstein's girlfriend at one point, has been known to the prince since her university days in the UK. The details surrounding the initial meeting between Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein are not entirely clear, but it is understood that their paths crossed through their social connections. Epstein's affluent lifestyle and connections to influential figures attracted him to the upper echelons of society, and Prince Andrew was among those who became acquainted with him during this period. Andrew's association with Epstein was highly scrutinized, especially considering his invitations to prestigious events such as shooting parties at Sandringham and the 18th birthday party of Bees at Windsor Castle. It seemed that Epstein had been welcomed into the inner circles of British society, deeply entwined with the heart of it all. One would assume that with Epstein's conviction, Prince Andrew would sever all ties. However, what unfolded next was truly staggering. In 2011, a photograph emerged of Andrew casually walking alongside Epstein, a haunting image that would become the epicenter of the subsequent scandal surrounding Andrew and his questionable choice of friends. Andrew's naivety shone through as he believed he could maintain an amiable relationship with Epstein, a decision that would prove to be deeply misguided. It was around the time of Epstein's release from jail that a photograph of the Duke of York alongside Virginia Roberts, now known as Virginia Giuffre, made headlines worldwide. Although some close to the prince claimed the photo was a fabrication, the story quickly faded from public view. 4 years later, the situation took a turn for the worse when Virginia Giuffre implicated Prince Andrew in the escalating sex scandal. She alleged that Epstein had essentially recruited her as a young girl and that Andrew had engaged in sexual relations with her on 3 separate occasions. Virginia Giuffre alleged that the sexual assault by Prince Andrew took place in March 2000 at Ghislaine Maxwell's residence in Belgravia, London. This alleged incident occurred after a visit to the Tramp nightclub in Mayfair on March 10th. Giuffre further claims that she was also assaulted by the prince at Epstein's townhouse in New York and at an orgy on Epstein's private island in the Caribbean. It is important to note that Giuffre states she was 17 years old at the time of these alleged incidents. Prince Andrew vehemently denied all allegations, and the accusations were eventually dismissed by the court as immaterial and impertinent. It is important to note that, at present, these allegations remain unproven, and in the eyes of the law, one is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Nevertheless, the damage caused by such allegations is immense, leaving a lasting impact on Andrew's reputation. The allegations made by Giuffre have been a significant part of the ongoing controversy and scandal surrounding Prince Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein. The public and media scrutiny surrounding these claims has had a profound impact on Prince Andrew's reputation and his role within the royal family. In 2015, with questions still lingering, the Duke of York was compelled to address the accusations during a royal engagement. He sought to reiterate and reaffirm the statements previously made on his behalf, attempting to manage the fallout from the scandal that had engulfed him. Consequential discoveries. Prince Andrew's role as a trade envoy and the controversies surrounding him were a significant part of the scrutiny he faced. In 2001, Prince Andrew stepped down from his military position in the Navy to become the British trade ambassador. Initially, he was seen as a strong asset for Britain, with his royal profile opening doors for British trade. He was credited with bringing in investments worth £1 billion and creating thousands of jobs. However, there were concerns about Prince Andrew's travel expenses. He frequently used private jets and helicopters for his official trips, which drew criticism from the press and the public. The annual release of the royal accounts, which included details of the royal family's expenses, often highlighted Prince Andrew's high travel costs. This led to him being nicknamed Air Miles Andy, which he found insulting as he believed he was conducting official business. The controversy surrounding Prince Andrew's association with Jeffrey Epstein further tarnished his role as a trade envoy. Since Epstein took his own life in 2019, Prince Andrew's connections with the convicted pedophile became a significant scandal. The media and the public questioned his judgment in maintaining a relationship with Epstein, and it raised concerns about his suitability as a representative of the UK government. Prince Andrew's choice of acquaintances and his alleged involvement with individuals of questionable character also raised eyebrows. He faced criticism for meeting with figures like the Gaddafi family and the former president of Tunisia. These associations suggested an attraction to wealth and an extravagant lifestyle, which clashed with his official role. The mounting controversies eventually led to Prince Andrew stepping down as a trade envoy in 2011. He likely recognized that his continued presence in the role was undermining his position and embarrassing the Queen and the government. Despite his belief that he was not guilty of any wrongdoing, the pressure from the media and public opinion necessitated his resignation. Throughout his tenure as trade envoy, Prince Andrew faced a decline in public support and an increasing level of criticism from the press. Some argued that the criticism was justified, given his questionable decisions and business affiliations. The negative publicity surrounding his role as trade envoy culminated with the release of a photograph showing him with Jeffrey Epstein in Central Park. Interview with Emily Maitlis. In November 2019, a captivating and highly anticipated interview took place between Prince Andrew and Emily Maitlis on BBC's Newsnight. The stage was set in the grandeur of Buckingham Palace, where the prince would finally address the swirling rumors and allegations surrounding his connection to the notorious Jeffrey Epstein. As the cameras rolled and the world watched with bated breath, Prince Andrew began to recount his dealings with Epstein. He revealed that their paths crossed in 1999, courtesy of Ghislaine Maxwell. This revelation instantly contradicted the official account provided by the Duke's private secretary in 2011, who had previously stated that their initial meeting occurred in the early 1990s. The tension mounted as viewers wondered which version of events was the truth. With a calm demeanor, Prince Andrew defended his friendship with Epstein, astonishingly stating that he did not regret their association. He boldly proclaimed that the people he encountered and the opportunities that came his way, either directly from Epstein or because of him, were beneficial. The public gasped in disbelief, trying to comprehend how a man of such high stature could find anything positive in such a dark and controversial association. But then came the moment of truth. The Duke firmly denied Virginia Giuffre's allegations that she had engaged in sexual activities with him on March 10, 2001. He passionately maintained that on that specific day, he was at home with his beloved daughters after attending a seemingly innocent gathering at a Pizza Express restaurant in Woking with his eldest daughter, Princess Beatrice. The tension escalated, and the audience wondered if Giuffre's claims would be debunked, or if the prince's defense would crumble under scrutiny. Prince Andrew's denial of ever meeting Giuffre left the world stunned. He professed to have no recollection of their encounter and vehemently denied any memory of the infamous photograph capturing him alongside Giuffre in Maxwell's London residence. The prince went even further, asserting that he had launched inconclusive investigations into the authenticity of the photograph. The suspense hung thick in the air as the public pondered the veracity of his claims and the potential implications if they were proven false. In a surprising twist, Prince Andrew questioned the very nature of the clothes he wore in the photograph. He dismissed them as his traveling clothes, arguing that they were not typical attire for his time spent in the country. Doubts crept into the minds of onlookers. Could this be a desperate attempt to cast doubt on the authenticity of the image? Or was there a hidden truth waiting to be uncovered? The prince's explanation for his lack of recollection regarding Giuffre's account of dancing with him at Tramp nightclub was equally perplexing. He attributed his supposed inability to sweat during the encounter to an adrenaline overdose suffered during the Falklands War. As medical experts raised their eyebrows in skepticism, the suspense grew thicker, and the audience yearned to uncover the truth behind this peculiar claim. In a moment of astonishing candor, Prince Andrew confessed that he stayed in Epstein's mansion for only 3 days in 2010, after Epstein had been convicted of abhorrent sex offenses against a minor. He justified his decision as merely finding it convenient, and admitted that he now regretted it deeply. The prince acknowledged that his actions were far from becoming of a member of the royal family, and humbly admitted to letting the side down. The audience held its breath, wondering if this moment of contrition would be enough to redeem his tarnished reputation. With a flicker of defiance in his eyes, Prince Andrew proclaimed that his purpose for meeting Epstein during that fateful visit was to sever all ties definitively. He believed it was the honorable and right thing to do, showcasing a part of his character that he deemed too honorable for his own good. The world watched, torn between applauding his supposed integrity and questioning the sincerity of his intentions. As the interview concluded, the prince left the audience with a lingering sense of uncertainty. Would he, if pressed to the edge, be willing to testify under oath about his associations with Epstein? Suspense hung in the air, leaving the public to ponder what further revelations might lie ahead, and how the intricate web of connections between Prince Andrew, Epstein, and the dark underbelly of power would ultimately unravel. The interview had ended, but the drama surrounding Prince Andrew's involvement with Epstein was far from over. The captivating tale of a royal caught in the midst of scandal had unfolded before our eyes, leaving us craving resolution, justice, and the unmasking of the truth hidden within the shadows of power and privilege. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. A flash across the screen shows the magnitude of a scandal so daring but defamatory to royalty. This picture has made it to several headlines, pages, and blogs, raising more suspicion and creepy questions with the public and fans of the royal house. The Times newspaper once captured this image with the title, "What do you do with a problem like Prince Andrew?" From his ill-fated association with the notorious Jeffrey Epstein to the palace's guarded silence, this is a story that demands to be told. What lies beneath the surface of Prince Andrew's involvement? You never can tell how deep the rabbit hole goes, but everything will just be clear to you through the exclusive interviews, expert analysis, and never-before-seen footage uncovered in this video. This story is something you would love to tell, so join the conversation in the comment section, and feel free to tell us which of these expositions enthralls you the most and what you think about them. Prince Andrew's Crossroad. A bombshell decision by a New York judge sent shockwaves through the royal family. The judge ruled that the lawsuit filed against Prince Andrew by Virginia Giuffre would proceed.
This is a real photo. And that's right before I was abused by him.
Dismissing his attempts to have it dismissed. Suddenly, the prince found himself at a crossroads, faced with two difficult choices that would shape his future. Option 1. Prince Andrew could attempt to clear his name in a highly publicized trial. It would be a risky move, as the details of his association with Epstein and the allegations made against him would be scrutinized in a court of law. The potential consequences of such a trial weighed heavily on the prince's shoulders. Option 2. Reports started swirling that Prince Andrew was considering an out-of-court settlement with Giuffre. However, this option came with a hefty price tag, with rumors suggesting that the settlement could cost him millions of dollars. The news broke that Andrew had reached a settlement in principle with Giuffre in the civil sex claim filed in the U.S. Speculation arose that the decision was driven by pressure from his brother, Prince Charles, who urged him to avoid lasting damage to the monarchy. It was reported that Prince Charles, with the backing of the Queen, made it clear to his younger brother that settling with Giuffre was imperative for the sake of the institution they served. This meant that there would be no civil trial, sparing Andrew from having to give evidence under oath or in front of a jury. In a letter submitted to the United States District Court, Giuffre's lawyer, David Boies, along with Andrew's lawyers, confirmed that the parties had reached a settlement in principle. The court documents revealed that the Duke would make a substantial donation to Giuffre's charity in support of victims' rights. Speculation swirled that this donation could amount to as much as £750 million, and it was rumored that the Queen would contribute to the settlement, considering Andrew's limited visible income from his modest pension. As part of the settlement, Prince Andrew pledged to demonstrate regret for his association with Epstein by supporting the fight against sex trafficking and its victims. The prince hoped that these actions would help rebuild his public image and show remorse for his past associations. The settlement raised questions about Prince Andrew's position within the royal family. Calls for him to be stripped of his Duke of York title grew louder, with leaders like Labour MP Rachel Maskell demanding such action. Royal reporters speculated that while Andrew was expected to attend the service of Thanksgiving for Prince Philip at Westminster Abbey on March 29, 2022, alongside the Queen, Charles, and other family members, he did not participate in any further public events or celebrations marking the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. What the future holds for Prince Andrew beyond that point remained uncertain, with his fate in the hands of time and public opinion, stripped of royalty. The palace's last comments on the issue were made in January 2022, announcing that the Duke of York's military affiliations and royal patronages had been returned to the Queen with her approval. It was also stated that Prince Andrew would continue to refrain from carrying out any public duties. Prince Andrew has largely stayed out of the public eye during this time. However, he drew attention when he accompanied his mother, Queen Elizabeth II, at a memorial service for his late father, Prince Philip, in March 2022. The statement suggests that the current king, presumably referring to Prince Charles, who ascended the throne after Queen Elizabeth II, holds a similar viewpoint to his late mother regarding Prince Andrew. Some argued that Andrew will always be a member of the royal family and will be included in private events such as Christmas at Sandringham, the final nail in the coffin. The world holds its breath and is eager to know more as Prince Andrew's name resurfaces in the sinister web of Jeffrey Epstein's associates. Recently unsealed U.S. court documents leave no room for doubt, shining a damning light on the 63-year-old Duke of York. Ever since his disastrous BBC interview in 2019, where he attempted to defend his friendship with Epstein, Prince Andrew has been relegated to the shadows of public life. But the revelations from across the Atlantic serve as a chilling reminder that his troubles are far from over. Virginia Giuffre, who bravely stepped forward, accused Prince Andrew of sexual assault dating back more than 2 decades. Although he vehemently denies the allegations, claiming a lack of memory, the settlement reached in February 2022 suggests otherwise. While the prince has maintained a low profile, whispers of a potential return to public royal duties have recently emerged. However, Sarah Hewson, a respected royal editor, warns that these latest revelations make it clear that the storm surrounding Prince Andrew is far from subsiding. Unsealed court documents filed as part of Geoffrey's separate lawsuit against Ghislaine Maxwell expose a deposition from Johanna Sjoberg. Startlingly, Sjoberg alleges that Prince Andrew groped her in Epstein's Manhattan apartment, a disturbing act intertwined with the presence of a mocking puppet depicting himself. Buckingham Palace, previously dismissing Sjoberg's claims, now faces an excruciating reality as Andrew's name is laid bare in black and white. The consequences for the prince are dire. Stripped of military honors, royal patronages, and his HRH title, Andrew's association with Epstein has irreparably tarnished his reputation. Joe Little, editor of Majesty magazine, predicts that the revelation of Andrew's repeated mentions in the Epstein files will inflict further damage on his already shattered image. As public scrutiny intensifies, royal historian Carolyn Harris foresees a continued low profile for Prince Andrew, with his finances facing heightened examination. The pressure mounts, and there are growing calls for King Charles III to curtail privileges enjoyed by non-working members of the royal family, including the use of royal residences and Andrew's security. A path to redemption now seems impossible for Prince Andrew. His name is forever tied to Epstein's dark legacy. He faces a future overshadowed by scandal and public disdain. The curtain closes on his once prominent role, leaving the royal family to grapple with the consequences of his actions. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.